Hello and welcome to the Newsletter Section Builder. My name is Alex Alexander. I create a lot of content. I have a weekly podcast. I have a book coming out. I lead keynotes and workshops. I have a twice weekly newsletter over on the Less Lonely Club. It's a lot. And yet somehow often I get to that newsletter writing and I stare at this blank screen and think to myself, oh my gosh, what do I write? Which is wild because I have created so much content this week. So that's what the Newsletter Section Builder helps you do. It helps you pull newsletter content out of things you have already created. Podcast episodes, client calls, voice memos, blog posts, YouTube scripts, long emails, pitch decks. Anything you've done can go in here, and you will never have to stare at a blank newsletter draft again. Now, this is not a newsletter writer. It is a newsletter miner. You feed it a piece of content and it shows you what already fits in what newsletter section and what doesn't. Most people sit down to write their newsletter from scratch every time, and this system flips that. You start with the content you already have, and the AI tells you what fits where. Now, there are 3 parts to the Newsletter Section Builder. Over here in the What You Need section, you have the worksheet, the master prompt, and the prompt bank. The prompt bank is also down below on the dashboard page right here. So let's head in to the worksheet. It's where you describe your newsletter, what it is, what its sections are, the voice for each section, what belongs, and what doesn't belong. There are 5 parts to this worksheet. You talk about your source content, your newsletter description and goals, your custom sections in order, your exclusions, and your quality bar. The majority of this is delete all that don't apply. So you're going to go through and delete anything that doesn't apply. This means that if you want to mine your podcast transcripts, for example, you're going to need to create a different prompt using the same worksheet to mine your workshop and course transcripts. So you will have multiple prompts in here. So start with the type of content and then work through from there. Now, section 3 is actually one of the most important parts. It's where you list your actual newsletter sections in order. Each one gets its own name, description, and voice. This is simpler than it looks. Really, each section is just meant to be 1 or 2 sentences. And if you're struggling with what to put here, my suggestion would be to actually use a software maybe like Whisper Flow, where you can just talk as if you were talking to a freelancer who is going to write your newsletter for you. And let it be longer, but don't feel like you have to make it long. A couple sentences works unless you're struggling with keeping it short, in which case, just pump this thing full of information. It can't hurt. The next section is the master prompt. You do not edit this. You are just going to copy it. It tells AI exactly how to read your worksheet and turn it into a reusable newsletter extraction prompt. At the bottom, there is a section where you will copy in your finished worksheet, and I'm going to show you how to do that a little bit later. And this is your prompt bank. This is where your finished prompts live. So as you saw, you might have a prompt for your podcast, for your YouTube, for your client calls. So you might end up with 3 to 5 to 10 prompts, depending on how much content you're creating. You can store each individual prompt in here. And as you can see, you can save the entire prompt text, or I like to save it twice, just in case something gets deleted. Okay, so let's create a prompt from scratch. Step 1 is always the same. You're going to create a new prompt bank entry. You just click this new button. It will create a blank entry. I worked ahead because I didn't want to make you watch me fill out the worksheet. So I actually have a full worksheet here, and this is what I am going to copy in. So it's as if I went through and I wrote conversational, 2 speakers, story heavy. Like it's as if I went through and filled out this whole thing. That's what I'm going to copy in. Now, one important thing to note is that you always want to keep that main worksheet clean. So you always have a clean, fresh version anytime you want to build a new prompt. So I would suggest going in to this page, copying everything in here, starting with part 1 all the way down, and pasting it in your new prompt bank page, and then working in here. So once you have the worksheet filled out, you are going to go back to your master prompt. I copied a little too far. You want to just go to where you paste in the worksheet. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to the worksheet that I completed. I'm going to copy the completed worksheet. I'm going to paste that in the same workspace. and I am going to hit submit. It's really that easy. And now this is going to build up a very specific extraction prompt for a podcast transcript. This is our new prompt. It is not the output. So now I'm going to take that prompt, I'm going to copy it, and I am going to save it in my podcast transcript mining. I am going to save it in the prompt text. And because I like multiple copies, I'm going to save it there. Okay, so now that this prompt is saved, we can reuse this over and over and over again for every single podcast transcript. Remember, I have over 170 episodes, so I could use this for like 5 and mine a bunch of content for my newsletter. So now I'm going to open a fresh chat. I'm going to paste my prompt, and then I actually have a podcast transcript here ready to go. I'm going to copy that. There it is. And I'm going to run this. And it is going to, now something that's really special about the newsletter section builder is to double check the AI. I built something in there called this confidence fit. So it actually goes through and does kind of like a double check on what it thinks of how confident is it that this will fit in that section. Now, I'm not necessarily going to fill my entire newsletter with just this one podcast episode, but I can pick one of these. I can run 3 to 4 other pieces of content very quickly if my prompts are built. And if you build your prompts, like you're looking at maybe 30 minutes the first time. And now I have a hopefully high confidence fit piece of content that can go in every single section without much work. I'm going to rework these. I'm going to think about it. But the AI is helping me, and my brain that just doesn't like to break this big long form content. My brain loves to create long form content. It hates to create short form content. So if that's you, this will help you find those short snippets that hit that you can use in your newsletter. So now I would take these, I would run maybe a few more, and that's the whole system. Worksheet, master prompt, AI, prompt bank, 5 steps. Now, the first prompt takes a little bit longer because you're going to define your newsletter structure. But after that, you're really just changing the source type, and most of the sections stay the same. You might adjust like what you're looking for or something. But you'll probably end up with a few prompts in your bank, and you can regularly go through this and use it to help find content that fits in your newsletter. Now, one more thing, if you love this, if you're like, whoa, that just saved me so much time and brain power, I actually built something that does almost this exact same thing, but for social media content. It is called the Content Prompt Engine. It is another EaseLab product. So I will link it below in the description. Head on over and check it out if you feel like this is maybe just going to save so much time for you.